Hello, my name is Bill Waltman. I'm the president of PYA Waltman Capital. This is my partner, Eric Foster here. And today we want to talk about just some questions that one should ask when choosing a financial advisor. There's a lot of different models out there, and so we thought it might be instructive and helpful for not only our clients, but prospects looking for a financial advisor to consider some questions as they go through their sorting process. If you think about PYA Waltman or you in particular, if you were to describe an ideal client, what does an ideal client look like in your mind?
I think an ideal client is somebody who is looking to build a relationship that's over time. As you know, we're not really geared for someone to walk in our door and say, "Hey, I've got this one issue. Can you guys just tell me what to do, and I'll go, do it myself or whatever." The kind of client and the way we want to staff ourselves and build relationships is just that, and from a long-term strategic vantage point. And so somebody who is willing on their end to invest in us, we're going to be willing to invest in them, to get to know them, to understand what makes them tick, to really understand a full picture. Obviously, you've been in a ton of meetings where some of that stuff comes out over time. We don't know everything that we might want to know right off the bat because we're just getting to know each other. And so I think we're most effective when we spend time, clients are willing to share, we're willing to share, and we figure out, what is this person really about, and how can we best help them figure out, hey, here's something that we've run across before that somebody has told us was important to them, and here's how we handled that situation. But that takes time, and that takes a relationship. And so I think that's when we're at our best, is when we can help steer those two parties, us and the client, in that direction, and it helps us give better advice.
Yeah. And I think that we see that in our practice, in that when we build those long-term trusting relationships, it's very gratifying, I think, to both of us when there's an event that happens in someone's lives. We are often the first or second call that client makes. And that's very gratifying, one, for the trust they place in us, but two, that demonstrates that they believe that we understand their family and we can help them through the situation. So that's really important. I think that's, again, to your point, based on that relationship and trust, which takes time.
All right, Bill, the next question is, if I'm a client and I come in here from an age standpoint, what do I expect as far as the team that is going to be built out to support me? What's the age of your advisors and the age of the team, and how do you strategically think about that as PYA Waltman in order to serve me on a long-term basis?
Yeah, that's a really important question that people oftentimes don't ask, that should be asked. One of the, and I'll answer that question directly, one of the issues that our industry faces, as you well know, is a lot of advisors are aging out. So we have a lot of advisors that are 60 and above, and for a lot of firms who have not built a bench of young rising professionals, that's a real issue for them and for their clients. So we have been very intentional, as you know, in having a disparity of ages amongst our professionals. You and I, as you mentioned earlier in our conversation, are the old guys in the room, or seasoned, more appropriately stated. But we have staff that are in their 20s and 30s, and so we have a disparity of age amongst our staff, and that is for, again, the benefit of our clients. And we're trying to build a multi-generational firm here, one that doesn't die with me or with you, that moves on in time. So as we build an engagement team for our clients, they're building relationships with a multitude of individuals, including our client service staff. And that is really important, so that you know that you're going to have continuity of care through the years, regardless of whether Bill's here or retires or so forth. And that's by intention, that's by design. And I think that's beneficial to our clients. And it's something that we hear that's a frustration with other firms who are non-intentional about that is, I had advisor A for a couple of years and I had advisor B for a couple of years, and I'm really getting tired of the turnover, and I really don't think there's a relationship there, and they understand me. I'm just a cog in the wheel. And that is not something you're going to experience at PYA Waltman, because we have continuity of staff, which is really important. Our retention rate of our staff is very high. For most of the people that join our team, they stay with our team. And I think that's a reflection of our culture, which we can talk about later. But all those things fit together for the benefit of our clients.
Talk a little bit about the change mentally for you. When we got into this business 25 years ago, we were the young guys, and the only guys. But talk a little bit about how mentally that changes how you execute that, helping run this firm and building teams, and how you, when you get a new client, what are you thinking? You're thinking, I'm not 26, client, if you are 55, in all reality, you're not going to be, I hope you're not working for 40 more years. That would mean that you made a lot of bad decisions, and we made a lot of bad decisions probably, but just how's that a difference in the way you think about approaching a new client? As you know, I can't be the central person here for the rest of your life.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So when we have new clients that come to us, there's a process of, one, understanding the client, which we talked about earlier, but a process of what's the right engagement team for this client. As you know, when we first started, there wasn't a lot of options. It was Eric or it was Bill. But as we built out a firm with a lot of different, very talented professionals, we tried to staff engagements according to age, time horizon, personality style even. And so that we're trying to get the right engagement team that can work for years with you as a client. And knowing that that engagement team has got the full support of the resources of the firm. They're not standing on an island. They got Eric behind them, Bill, and others behind them. I think it's a very effective model in that we can staff client engagements to the needs of that client, to the longevity of that client, and also back that with the full resources of the firm. So Eric, next question, when we think about, collaboration, that's a term that's used a lot, but, if you think of a typical business owner or professional, they may have a CPA, they may have an estate planning attorney, they may have an advisor like us. What role do we play in collaborating with those professionals, if at all? What does that look like? And why is that important to clients that, frankly, are very busy, just like most people are these days?
Sure. I would say as a firm, we want to approach that in two ways. What's easier for the client and what helps the client get the most effective collaborative solution. And so we may have clients who have a tight relationship with an attorney or with a CPA. They interface directly on their own. They want things to kind of pivot through them, which is fine. Oftentimes though, especially with a new client, we'll mention, hey, do you just want us to do that? And they kind of think, well, nobody's ever asked me that question. Can you do that? That'd be great. You guys talk a different language than I talk. If I'm a client, from professional to professional, which obviously we do and we can. And so if we can if we can take things off clients, if we can save them time and, again, efficiency of having to be a go-between, then obviously that's for the good of everyone. And obviously if we in our role can, in essence, be a quarterback that makes sure we're going to know the whole story of our clients. And a lot of times other professionals, not because they don't want to, but because they're just not in the seat of having the kind of conversations we tend to have, may only know some pieces. And so if we can help coordinate and direct to make sure that everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction, then we can avoid some mistakes of somebody over here saying, well, hey, let's try this, when there's a very good reason that that doesn't fit the whole picture. We just have a unique seat at the table to see the whole picture and are going to help try to make sure that what the client ultimately wants from an accumulation, from a growth standpoint, and from a distribution standpoint, all work with other people. That's a pretty fun thing that we get to do on behalf and with our clients.
Yeah.